The success of a rooftop solar project hangs in the balance of systems, if you will. Today in the pitch, we're talking about the latest rooftop structural and electrical balance of systems products and the importance of approved vendor lists and AHJs in vetting those products and helping you select them with QuickBOlt Systems Manager Mike Wiener. So let's start off with the latest company news. Sunnova added QuickBOlt products to its approved vendor list. I was hoping you could start by explaining the significance for QuickBOlt being on Sunnova's AVL.
We've been working really hard on the back end with Sunnova for quite a while to get this through. The significance is that, Sunnova is, if not the largest, they are one of the largest, financiers, warranty providers for solar installs in the country. Maybe in the world, but they're huge, and we have a large customer base across the country that does utilize that Sunnova for financing their jobs. Acceptance onto their AVL means that our products are now available for specific use on Sunnova jobs. Well, what does that mean? What's Sunnova doing differently than other bodies? Specifically, they have very strict requirements on a per job basis. So they have teams dedicated to reviewing each job, and those are often more rigorous than what the AHJ is doing, what their inspectors are doing. So installers have to take photos, they have to submit photos and other information that goes beyond the minimum that the inspectors and AHJs are requiring, which is already quite a bit. Big picture, approval on their AVL is another point on the scale for industry confidence in our products and the services that we can provide our customers.
And what products in particular are approved by Sunnova?
So the great thing about Sunnova's AVL, they do an initial evaluation. So our whole product line is on their AVL. And there are maybe 2 products that are just new enough that we're bringing, they're on the water now, that won't be on this month's AVL, but then after the initial batch, we can add new products for evaluation. So on a monthly basis, as we come out with new products, the Sunnova AVL will be updated.
QuickBOlt was also the first mounting supplier listed on Solar Insure's AVL. And, I'm just curious, thanks for the insight on Sunnova, just in general, like what is the AVL approval process like?
Yeah, each company is different, but they do follow us, to certain patterns. And if you think about, well, what's their underlying goal? Why do they need to approve anything at all? Because they are warranting the jobs, they are taking responsibility for maintaining the quality and life of that solar system. So ultimately, they want to know that their job's going to pencil out after 10, 15, 20, 25 years.
It's interesting to me kind of how long the testing and approval process is just in general with like certifications and for certain AVLs, and how many products you have available with more coming, which we'll get to. So, I wanted to ask you, given the timeline and kind of the hurdles to prove a product's worth, especially something new, if maybe it hasn't been tested over 5-10 years, how do you decide what new products are kind of worth pursuing, given that all of these different AVLs and the certifications and everything you need to do?
It ebbs and flows with the direction we go. There's a lot of competing interests. And what we try to focus on is solving problems. There's plenty of products that we get suggested or people ask us to make, and it's not really solving a problem. They just think it'd be cool, which we do sometimes. But that can be a distraction from what we believe we're good at, which is solving problems, servicing our customers' needs. Sometimes those can be really niche, and sometimes they can be very common problems. A lot of our tile hook lines have been developed out of niche problems with a large volume. So for whatever reason, Southern California just has developments that were made with one kind of tile from a tile company that's no longer in business. So we need a hook that has really specific needs. So there's that side of it. But then, like I said, there's the other side of it, like common problems that have a large market. And a good example of that would be the QuickBOlt, for example. So that line, when we first released it, there's no field testing for that kind of product, but now we're 14 years down the road and we have plenty of field testing for it. So the combination of needs for a customer we can look at is, well, what sort of things have changed since we've released the product initially? What sort of improvements can we make? And so the product development process, we don't just focus on new products, we focus on existing product lines. How can we improve a product? How can we make something a little bit better for our customers so that they can get a little bit more edge out of what they're doing? So you asked about testing and certifications. Yeah, that's a big factor. Our history working on woodworking fastening for specialty screws, there's not nearly the same level of testing certifications required for making woodworking screws. So the testing and certification process always plays a crucial role in what we want to do, because it significantly increases the amount of time to bring a product to market. And we're pretty good at it now. Mounts all follow generally the same approval process. They might vary between areas of the country, like Miami-Dade, for example, but they're all kind of follow the same thing. You need UL, you need uplift testing, you need to a certain point, you need waterproof testing, that kind of stuff. We take that into account when we're trying to decide on what to make.
Miami-Dade County approval comes up a lot. Do you find that people care about this beyond Miami-Dade? Like I see these announcements a lot, in the rooftop mounting space. Like, will an AHJ in Omaha, be like, oh my gosh, this one's approved in Miami-Dade, like, okay, we're good to go? Or I don't know, like, does that carry any extra weight, or what's it mean?
We find it to be somewhat regional, and it really depends more on, say, the weather systems than like the proximity to Florida, for example. So the neighboring states, they're like, oh yeah, Miami-Dade, we know that. But when you get further away, there's not an equal proportion as far as like the further you get away from Miami-Dade, the less it matters. It's not like that. Texas has hurricanes, so there are parts of Texas and customers there, installers, that say, oh wow, Miami-Dade, like high wind zone, we get it.
Which mounts of yours have been approved by Miami-Dade to this point?
QB2 was our first one. So that includes the variations, because we have, with each QuickBOLT, we have a variety of options available with different L feet and different size micro flashing, or if you want the mini flashing to go with that. So the QB2, any variation of the QB2 is approved for Miami-Dade for use there. And just recently, our butyl bottom deck mount. So same thing with that. We have a silver finish and a black matte finish, and we are coming out with a split top product very soon as well. That's an example of taking an existing product line and saying, well, what more value can we add here without coming up with an entirely new product? Also, we're pursuing Miami-Dade approval for stone coated steel line. We're jumping back into the process. So this one we expect to be slightly different. Both products we have put through Miami-Dade approval are both for asphalt, but the stone coated steel line is slightly different in execution, given that it's a metal roof and that the way the roof works with the tiles overlapping essentially.
So let's look at some new products in context of that AHJ scrutiny. First, on the wire management side, you have a few new products. You have an expanded line of conduit clips. You have the junction QuickBOX. And I'm just curious, what's different about those, what you've come out there versus the field, if anything?
Yeah, the conduit clip line especially is following an existing product line we have that really had a gap. And that was the conduit block, the EPDM conduit block, which we're now calling the puck. We've got that term trademarked. Everyone was calling it the puck anyways, so we finally said, let's just lean in, we'll call it the puck. And it's a huge product. People love that because it's so simple. So given that adoption by the industry, we said, well, let's bring it full circle, let's complete the line. So now we're bringing in the clips as well. So you can get the clips, you can get the kit with the block and the clips, or you can get just the block if you already have your own clips. That's something we do. We kit almost every product we have. You can get just the mount, you can get just the screws, or you can get a la carte individual pieces. And we're able to do that because we have a really efficient system for our warehousing and the way we've set up our sales systems. So being able to offer that choice to customers is something we pride ourselves on in terms of customer service. The QuickBOX is another sort of step towards that BOS market. We think it's a good, clever design in terms of how the internals are laid out and how the mounting is completed to the roof. We're adding butyl to the bottom, it's not new, quite that new in terms of the product. We have the butyl deck mount. There are obviously other companies using butyl, and so, but we find that the industry has, they just love it. Over the last 2.5 years, we've seen the entire industry take a huge shift towards the product. So coming out with a junction box with that sealing option seems like a no-brainer to us. The prevailing method for junction boxes is slightly different than the mindset for mounts. Most of the industry is they might cut away the shingle because it's coming more from a roofing perspective. So, for the rest of our product lines, we're like, hey, don't cut shingle. That's like a big ethos of us. Or don't lift shingle. That's a big ethos. So for the junction box, we got to be a little bit flexible on that, because that's what the our installers are already doing. And so we can kind of get halfway between where we think the industry should be and what they're already doing by offering butyl on the bottom, offering a bit of a step in between where we think ultimately the industry is going to go.
On the mount side, you're also now promoting RibRider, another great name from the QuickBOLT team, a new corrugated metal roof solution. I know you have other metal roof mounts. So is this an update over a previous product design, or does it fit a new specific niche that you hadn't filled in yet?
The corrugated roof specifically is an interesting roof type for us as far as our offerings, because in California, there's a lot of buildings, especially agricultural buildings, that are commercial or industrial structures with metal roofs, but they still have wooden rafters. The RibRider is essentially a deck-mounted product that doesn't go into the rafter, so it screws into the metal roof itself, the corrugations. So that just opens up the available options, and that's great. That's nice for our customers because we can fill that need.
Okay, well, before I let you get going, is there anything we didn't cover today that you wanted to mention? Any new products or that coming down the road, or just new products that are out now?
Yeah, this product's already out, so we can scream it from the rooftops. We've been bringing in T-bolts now, so that's another very niche part of the install, but there's enough demand there that we evaluated and said, we can bring this in. And it's a natural evolution of the product line, as I mentioned, being able to buy the pieces a la carte with, the conduit block or the puck, for example. You can do the same thing now with T-bolts for our products. So if you want the QuickBOLT, the QB2 with T-bolts, that's a kit. If you want the deck mount with T-bolts, that's the kit. And if you just want T-bolts, we got those by themselves.
You guys always have something new, and I do appreciate that about QuickBOLT. And so, Mikey, thanks for taking the time to stop by and make the pitch again today.
Thanks, Chris. It's always great to be here. I always enjoy coming on.